The film opens on a ferry crossing the sea, where a group of motorcyclists notices a missing child banner. It tells the story of a boy named Zekuan Da from Anhui province, who was kidnapped at 4 p.m. on September 21st, 1999. By now, that child would be 17 years old. Nearby, a man in a blue jacket walks over to a rider in a brown jacket who is sleeping on his motorcycle. He wakes him up and points out that the boy has already been missing for 15 years, wondering how much longer he plans to keep searching. He tells the rider to contact the police, but the man only nods and goes right back to sleep. But not long after closing his eyes, he is woken up again. Another person nearby says it would probably be hard to find his son now, since the boy must have changed so much over the years. The man in the blue jacket immediately speaks up in his defense, and the two almost get into a fight before others step in and stop it. After that, the man in the brown jacket, the father who lost his son, begins handing out flyers about the missing boy to the people on the ferry. Once the boat reaches land, he stops, starts his motorcycle, and continues on his journey. And this is Lost in Love. This man is Zekuan, and ever since losing his son back in 1999, he has never stopped searching. Attached to the back of his motorcycle is a banner, hanging like a flag, with information about his missing child. His search takes him from city to city, traveling from his home in Anhui to Hubei and then on to Fujian. Along the way, he survives on cup noodles, eating by the roadside while crouched on the ground. At one point, he sees someone putting up a missing child poster for another boy who was kidnapped on February 4th, 2014. After the person leaves, Zekuan takes that poster down and shares it online. He even turns it into another banner and attaches it to the back of his motorcycle. Now he is carrying 2 missing child banners with him. Even after all these years without finding his own son, he still chooses to help other families search for theirs. As determined as he is, the endless road is clearly taking a toll on him. While riding, Zekuan starts to lose focus. His eyes go blank, and he does not notice the truck right in front of him. A moment later, his motorcycle crashes into it, and he is thrown to the ground unconscious. A young man comes to his rescue. While Zekuan lies unconscious, the young man starts repairing his damaged motorcycle. It is only when the loud sound of workshop machines fills the air that Zekuan finally wakes up. And the first thing he looks for is not himself, but the banner. He spreads it out and sees that it is torn and full of holes, so he quietly begins sewing it back together. As the young man works on the motorcycle, he reads the banner Zekuan is holding. Realizing someone else is there, Zekuan asks where he is. The brown-haired young man tells him that he is in the Wuyi Mountains. Zekuan then opens the map he has been carrying so he can figure out his current location. Seeing the older man struggling to make sense of it, the young man points out exactly where they are on the map. Zekuan tells the young man who helped him that he has already visited every place marked on his map in search of his son. He does not forget the help he has received, so he asks how much he owes and promises to repay it little by little. He even writes it down in a small notebook, noting that during his journey he now owes a debt to the young man from the mountains. Before continuing his search, Zekuan reprints the damaged banner. When asked where he is heading next, he sets his sights on Guangzhou, then gets back on his motorcycle and continues down the road. Sometime later, far from the mountains, Zekuan stops by the roadside to pray, holding incense in his hands. After he finishes, the same young man suddenly appears again and confronts him about how his child could have gone missing. Zekuan finally shares what happened, explaining that his son disappeared while he was away working in his orchard. By the time he returned home, the boy was gone. Before leaving, Zekuan gives him his phone number, hoping that maybe one day he might come across his son. Just as Zekuan is about to ride off again, the young man reveals that he himself is a victim of kidnapping. They sit down and talk. The young man explains that he was taken when he was just 4 years old, abducted by a trafficker, and treated harshly along the way. He recalls only a few fragments from before he was taken. He remembers a chain bridge near his home, a cluster of bamboo trees, and his mother's long braided hair. When Zekuan asks if he remembers names, siblings, or even his favorite food, there is nothing else. Those 3 images are all he has left. Every night he clings to those memories, afraid that one day they might fade away. He waits for dreams to bring him back to that place, to his mother, but they never come. And what hurts the most is that not even in his dreams does his mother appear. After hearing his story, Zekuan continues on his journey. Not long after, he receives a tip about a 17-year-old boy in Donghai, Fujian, who is believed not to be the biological child of his current parents. The boy's name is Shinyi, and he has a scar on his leg. The moment Zekwon hears this, he speeds off toward the location. He rides onto a highway, pushing forward as fast as he can until a police car pulls him over. The officer warns him that motorcycles are not allowed on the highway and that it is dangerous. But Zekwon insists he is only taking this route to reach his destination faster. The officer then realizes he is heading the wrong way and tells him to follow the patrol car so he can be guided back in the right direction. At the end of the highway, the officer marks Zekwon's position on his map and hands it back. Zekwon sets off once again. Along the way, he stops to check the map, and as he opens it, 2 pieces of paper fall out. Only then does he realize that the officer had quietly given him some money. Zekwon continues his journey and picks up a woman who had given him information about a 17-year-old boy. Together, they head to the place where the boy is said to live. Along the way, the woman shares more details, explaining that the boy is known to be rebellious at his school dorm and that child trafficking is not uncommon in that area. Soon, Zekwon rides toward the coastline. With help from locals, he boards a boat to reach the boy. The boat takes him to a small floating hut out at sea. Once he arrives, he approaches the family and introduces himself, asking about the child. The people there explain that the boy was given to them by someone else. To be certain, they call the boy over. His name is Shinyi. He pauses for a moment, glancing at his parents before slowly stepping forward. As Zekwon looks at him, memories of his own son begin flooding back into his mind. When the boy stands in front of him, Zekwon starts trying to confirm his identity. He asks if the boy remembers having a puppy named Blackie, but there is no recognition. He then asks about a friend named Showman, but again, there is nothing. Finally, he asks about a scar on the leg, something his son once had after stepping on a nail. The boy quickly sits down and removes his right shoe and sock, but Zekwon immediately reacts, realizing the scar should be on the left leg. At that point, the tension breaks. Zinyi's parents grow angry and force Zekwon to leave. He returns to the boat, but deep down, he still believes this boy could be his son. Driven by that stubborn hope, he jumps onto a wooden raft and rushes back, insisting on a biological test. Before he can get anywhere, the boy's mother steps forward and strikes him again and again with no restraint. The blows send Zekwon off balance, and he falls through the raft and into the sea. Struggling, he swims back to shore, exhausted, then drags his motorcycle out of the water. The bike is completely ruined, and the banner he carries is torn beyond recognition. Despite everything, he refuses to let go. With all his strength, he tries to pull the bike along. Then a voice tells him it is better to leave it behind. When he turns, he sees the same young man who once helped him standing there again. Still overwhelmed by emotion, Zekwon demands that Zheng Shuai fix the motorcycle. But there is nothing left to fix. The engine has been completely submerged. Even so, Zekwon refuses to give up, continuing to drag it forward. Zheng Shuai finally grabs him, trying to force him to let it go. Zekwon resists, and the struggle between them turns into a fight right there on the spot. After some effort, Zheng Shuai finally manages to calm Zekwon down. Not long after, the two of them are sitting together in a pool, letting the tension fade. For a moment, Zheng Shuai reflects on what just happened, imagining what it would feel like if his own parents had searched for him with that same desperation. As they talk, Zekwon tries to understand more about his situation. Zheng Shuai explains that his current family does not treat him badly, but his life has never truly felt complete. When he was younger, he used to worry that he might die before ever finding his real parents. Now, his fear has changed. He worries that he may not have enough time left to find them at all. The conversation shifts, and Zekwon learns that Zheng Shuai never went to college. Because he is considered an undocumented citizen, he cannot even apply. He cannot take planes, trains, or most forms of public transportation. He cannot open a bank account, and he cannot even get married. With so many limitations, he has made up his mind to find his real parents and finally reclaim his identity. Zheng Shuai then suggests they visit a place he has heard about, a steel bridge located in Siwa, about 200 miles away. It is a long journey, but they decide to go. Along the way, they stop for a simple bowl of noodles. Zekwon quietly adds extra food to Zheng Shuai's bowl, but Zheng Shuai moves it back. Zekwon insists and puts it there again. The small moment turns into a quiet back and forth, almost like a routine between a father and son, even though both of them are still searching for their own families. With no money to pay for the meal, they end up washing dishes at the noodle shop to settle the bill. Once they finish, an awkward moment pushes them to leave quickly, and they rush back onto the motorcycle and continue their journey. Eventually, they arrive at the bridge Zheng Shuai had been searching for. He stands there, looking around carefully, trying to recognize something. Anything, but nothing feels familiar. Then, an elderly woman with braided hair walks across the bridge. For a brief moment, Zheng Shuai feels a surge of hope and tries to approach her. Zekuan immediately senses the danger in that hope. Having spent years searching, he knows how easily emotions can take over. He tries to stop Zheng Shuai, reminding him that mistaking someone for family can lead to even deeper pain. He has seen it happen before. Families breaking under false hope, and he does not want Zheng Shuai to go through the same thing. Still, Zheng Shuai struggles to let go of that possibility and continues after the woman. But when he reaches the end of the bridge, something inside him shifts. He stops, turns around, and slowly walks back. Without saying anything more, the two of them continue on their journey, moving from one place to another, still searching, still holding on to whatever hope they have left. To support themselves along the way, Zekuan and Zheng Shuai take on small jobs. At one point, they are washing cars. What starts as simple work turns into a light moment when water gets splashed around, and before long, the two of them are playfully soaking each other. But that brief laughter fades when Zheng Shuai admits something heavier. He says he is starting to forget the images he once held onto so tightly. The chain bridge near his home, the place that used to guide him. The more time passes, the more those memories slip away, and with it, his hope begins to fade. Zekuan reminds him that he has only been searching for a short time, while he himself has spent 15 years on the road. It is not something that ends quickly. It takes patience, and it takes endurance. They continue on and arrive at another bridge, one that looks worn and unstable. Zheng Shuai studies the surroundings carefully, trying to find even the smallest sense of familiarity, but again, there is nothing. Later, they stop at a night market to get something to eat after a long day. While walking through the crowd, Zekuan notices a woman carrying a baby, and something about it feels off, almost like the child matches the description of a recently missing baby. He starts to follow, but Zheng Shuai calls out to him, afraid of being left behind again. That night, they sleep on a concrete bench outside the market, with Zheng Shuai resting his head on Zekuan's lap, while Zekuan sits upright, watching over him. The next bridge they visit is different. Along its sides, countless locks hang from the cables, symbols of love and promises. Zheng Shuai picks up one of the locks and begins to reflect on his own life, feeling like someone who has been abandoned. Zekuan quickly shuts that thought down, refusing to let him see himself that way. But the words trigger another argument, and emotions rise again between them. Eventually, Zekuan decides to walk away and ends up sitting alone at a bus stop. After some time, Zheng Shuai returns, holding out a helmet as a silent way of asking him to come along. They ride together again, but when they reach a station, Zheng Shuai stops and suggests that Zekuan continue his journey by train, while he heads off to Fujian on his own. Before they part, Zheng Shuai tries to give him some money, but Zekuan refuses. They both insist, pushing it back and forth until the bills scatter onto the ground. Neither of them is willing to take from the other. That night, Zekuan lies awake while Zheng Shuai sleeps beside him. In his sleep, Zheng Shuai begins to mumble. He dreams of a woman with long braided hair walking across a chain bridge. He also reveals something he had never said before, that he was not alone when he was taken. He had been kidnapped along with a friend, and they were both sold to the same city. In his dream, he mentions that his friend no longer wants to find his real parents, because his life has already turned out well. Hearing this, Zekuan quietly gets up and leaves. He goes to an internet cafe and searches for information about two children who went missing in a kidnapping case back in 1992. Soon, a woman with short red hair responds online. She seems to recognize the case and may know who the real parents are. She contacts the police and they begin recording the information immediately. The next day, Zheng Shuai walks along, carrying his belongings while looking at a photo of a chain bridge sent by the red-haired woman. Not long after, he and Zekuan go to meet her in person. At her house, she calls the police again, confirming that one of the missing children from 1992 is now with them. At the police station, a couple finally receives news about their missing child. Nearby, Zheng Shuai hears the voice of an older man over the phone. The moment hits him deeply. He takes a step back and asks the woman in front of him to find out one thing, whether his parents still care about him. After that, he quietly turns and walks out of the room. Later, he and Zekuan sit together and talk more openly than ever before. Zheng Shuai learns that the chain bridge from his childhood has already been destroyed, along with the bamboo trees around it. The place he had held onto in his memory no longer exists. Zekuan then shares his own pain, admitting how disappointed he feels every time he returns home without his son, and how much his wife has suffered all these years. Slowly, Zheng Shuai begins to accept the truth. Even without the physical sign he once relied on, he starts to believe that he may have finally found his real parents. At the same time, he cannot forget the family who raised him, the ones who loved him and feared losing him. In his heart, he knows that both sides will always be part of his life. Before they part ways, Zheng Shuai gives his motorcycle to Zekuan, asking only that it not be sold. Together, they travel to meet his biological parents, accompanied by the red-haired woman who helped connect everything. When Zheng Shuai steps out and sees the crowd waiting for him, the moment becomes real. A banner welcomes him, and from it he learns the name he was given at birth, Mao Zhou. Step by step, he walks toward his parents, who are already overwhelmed with emotion. In that moment, the images he once clung to begin to fade. The chain bridge, the braided hair, the fragments of memory that guided him for so long. And finally, after decades apart, he is reunited with his family.
我是毛血僧。
Zekuan watches from the side, deeply moved as he sees a family made whole again. But his own journey is not over. Carrying the motorcycle entrusted to him, he continues forward, still searching for his son. Meanwhile, Zheng Shuai is finally recognized as a legal citizen and begins the process of building a new life, starting with his official identification. At one point, Zekuan crosses paths with a group of traveling monks and decides to follow them for a while. They gather beneath the remains of an old wooden structure, sitting in quiet meditation. Zekuan joins them, then approaches their teacher, seeking guidance. He wants to know if he will ever find his son. The answer he receives is simple. As long as he keeps searching, there is always a chance. But if he stops, that chance disappears. He then wonders if his son is still alive. The response is just as steady. Without clear proof, there is always hope. And as long as hope remains, he must continue his search. With those words in mind, Zekuan sets off once again, returning to the road with the same determination that has carried him all these years. So, the moral of the story is sometimes love means searching for someone your whole life, even when the world slowly forgets them, and even when you might never get the chance to say you found them.